I was lounging on a chaise on the terrace, letting the late morning sun warm my skin when my assistant, Carter, crouched down beside me. "Boss, Mr. Harrington has been busy," he said, his voice a low, professional murmur as he handed me his iPad. I opened my eyes, squinting against the glare, and looked at the screen. The paparazzi, or whoever Carter had hired, knew how to frame a shot. Every image dripped with undeniable, suffocating intimacy. There they were, embracing at the JFK arrivals terminal. There they were in a dimly lit booth at Lou Bernardine, him reaching across the white tablecloth to gently wipe the corner of her mouth. There they were, slipping through the wrought iron gates of a secluded Hamptons estate. I zoomed in on the woman's face. Bella Crawford. Peter's ultimate what if. She was back. No wonder Peter hadn't slept at home in a month. I tossed the iPad back onto the cushion just as my phone began to buzz. Peter's name flashed across the screen. Right on cue. "Diana," his voice crackled through the speaker, clipped and impatient. "Go out to the family compound in Connecticut by yourself today. Things blew up at the firm. I'm tied up." I frowned, keeping my voice perfectly even. "Peter, we agree. We do the monthly family dinner together." A heavy sigh echoed through the receiver. "What does it matter if you go alone? You just sit there and make polite conversation with my parents. You can handle it. I have a crisis here. I'm hanging up." The line went dead. It was mid-afternoon by the time my driver pulled up to the sprawling, ivy-covered Harrington estate. "Margaret," I said, keeping my voice respectfully neutral as I walked into the grand living room. My mother-in-law was lounging on a velvet sofa. The moment she turned her head and saw I was alone, her eyes hardened. Without a word of warning, she snatched the heavy, beaded throw pillow next to her and hurled it at my face. I flinched, but not fast enough. The sharp metal detailing of a decorative zipper caught the edge of my forehead. A thin, hot line of blood immediately began to trickle down my pale skin. Neither Margaret nor my father-in-law, who was sitting in the armchair opposite her, even blinked. In fact, Margaret let out a short, derisive scoff. "Peter isn't with you," she sneered. "I suppose you'll just have to stop using my son as your personal meat shield." I kept my head bowed. I let a single drop of blood fall, sinking into the priceless Persian rug beneath my feet. Richard Harrington peered over his reading glasses, his eyes flicking from the Wall Street Journal to my bleeding face. He looked mildly annoyed, as if I had tracked mud into the house. He gestured vaguely to a maid to fetch the first aid kit. While the maid dabbed at my forehead with trembling hands, Margaret's voice echoed through the cavernous room, sharp as broken glass. "I don't know why the Kensingtons bothered raising such a useless daughter. You can't keep your husband's attention, you can't manage to get pregnant, and you drain my son's bank accounts. You provide absolutely nothing to this family." "Nothing." She paused, her eyes narrowing. "And your pathetic father, always trying to ride Harrington Holdings' coattails. Have you seen the cut he took on the waterfront development? Cheap materials, shoddy workmanship. If his incompetence damages the Harrington name, I'll sue him into the ground myself." I sat there, the picture of docile submission. The maid wiping my forehead shot me a look of profound, silent pity. "Enough, Margaret. What's the point of barking at her? She's not exactly playing in our league," Richard interrupted, his voice laced with absolute boredom. "The girls are coming over for bridge in an hour. You'll stay in the corner and serve the drinks," Margaret ordered, dismissing me with a wave of her manicured hand. For the next 4 hours, the sunroom was suffocating. The air was thick with the smell of expensive gin, heavy perfume, and Virginia Slims. For society matriarchs in immaculate Chanel, blowing smoke like industrial chimneys. It made me want to vomit. "Oh, dear. I think I just ashed on my shoe," Mrs. Davenport, the mother of a tech billionaire, heard, looking pointedly at Margaret. "Don't worry about it, darling." Margaret smiled sweetly, before her gaze snapped to me. "Diana, get down there and clean Mrs. Davenport's shoe." She commanded me with the exact same tone she used for her purebred Dobermans. I didn't argue. I walked over, knelt on the hardwood floor, and took a cloth to the cherry red patent leather stilettos. "You're pushing 70, I thought distantly, and you're wearing fire engine red pumps." I glanced down at my own sensible black flats. Mrs. Davenport looked down at me from her perch, practically vibrating with the thrill of dominance. Every few seconds, she'd subtly shift her foot, letting the sharp toe of her stiletto kick against the fabric of my skirt. "You really do have the best daughter-in-law, Margaret," Mrs. Davenport cooed. "So obedient. Not like my Chloe. That girl is spoiled rotten. Doesn't listen to a word I say." Margaret let out a bell-like laugh. "Oh, please, you can't compare them. Chloe is a Harvard Law graduate. Ours is completely useless." I was still kneeling beside the table when Margaret casually reached for her silver-insulated teapot. With a flick of her wrist, she tipped it. Boiling water cascaded directly onto the back of my hand. I gasped, shooting up from the floor, shaking my hand frantically. The skin was instantly an angry, blistering crimson. The pain was blinding, a sharp, searing heat that radiated up to my elbow. "Oh, my goodness. Clumsy me," Margaret said. Her voice was flat. There wasn't a drop of remorse in her eyes. They were dancing with cruel amusement. "You'd better go run that under the tap." I rushed to the kitchen, shoving my hand under the freezing water, biting my lips so hard I tasted copper, just to keep the scream trapped in my throat. By the time I left the estate that evening, I felt hollowed out. I had played the servant all day. I hadn't been offered a single bite of food. When Carter saw me walking down the driveway, my hand wrapped in a makeshift gauze bandage, he practically ripped the car door open, his jaw clenched tight as he helped me into the back seat. "Boss," Carter said, his eyes dark in the rearview mirror. "How much longer are we playing this game?" I leaned my head against the cool leather of the headrest. A slow, terrifying smile curved across my lips. "Not long," I whispered. "I just need to make sure I have every single piece on the board exactly where I want it to." Peter wasn't answering his phone, so the next morning, I went straight to the Harrington Holdings headquarters. When the elevator doors opened to the executive penthouse, I wasn't expecting a party, but there they were. Peter's inner circle, the boys' club, Spencer and Nate. These were the men I had spent my college years with. We had crammed for finals together, drank cheap beer on fire escapes together. I had given them my genuine, unfiltered loyalty. I was just about to push the glass door open, a soft smile forming on my face, when a woman's voice drifted through the gap. "You guys, stop it. it. Peter, tell them to stop teasing me. It was Bella. Then came Spencer's voice, booming and jovial. Come on, future Mrs. Harrington, don't be shy.